Well, I'm not sure who's in here yet, but what up? Oh, damn it. Did this already get locked in at vertical? Alright. What up, fam? I'm not sure who's in here, but thanks for your patience. About to kick this bad boy off in a second. I should really get this thing dialed in before. Still working on it. Lady B, of course. What up, y'all? Sorry, I had this set up. And then my tripod broke. So I'm trying to bend the legs back in place to where it's working again. Oh, you know what? If I have it this far, though, I'm not going to be able to read you guys' comments as we go. Fuck it. Yeah, I was going to be all cool and use the tripod, but if it's that far, I can't read. So we're going to do something. We're gonna put you guys up against my pumpkin. You guys want to see what I see, brother? Do you see what I see? Whenever I'm recording with you guys. Where's the flip button at? This is where I'm staring in my messy ass closet. My dream journal. My outside. My cool ass 1920s lamp. All my things. Alright. We have a top. I was gonna make the topic of today was supposed to be what up, Nikki? I was gonna make an actual video out of it. I've actually wanted to make this video for well over a year. I just haven't gotten around to doing it but for some reason the live feels really good with this topic. If you'll permit me some unprofessionalism as I set up the new stand. I'm just gonna grab some books so that we can raise the elevation. The books we went with were Shamanism. Whoa, I'm gonna switch you guys over. God damn it. Oh no, what happened to the orientation? No, I'm fucking this whole thing up. Shamanism. Quadrivium. I haven't read this yet, but it makes me feel really cool just having it lying around the house. And the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Cool. Alright, so I'm gonna see if I can get back to vertical. I'm in horizontal. Nuit Bastet. Wow, what a cool ass name. Nuit Bastet. That's a really cool name. Nice. Okay, you guys. Welcome back to the channel. If you're here for the first time, welcome home. I just need to, sorry, we're 3 minutes and 33 seconds in and I still haven't started talking. Before we start, do you guys have any idea what this might be about? Are any of you guys familiar with the Tower of Babel? This is what I'm going to be basing this whole thing off of. I'm sideways? God damn it. Is this better? I hate shooting videos vertically. It's one of my least favorite things to do. But, whatever. I might have to... Oh, I hate when it's vertical like this. Oh well. We're gonna kick into it. So, Tower of Babel. Oh, you guys are watching from your phone. Maybe if you're watching it from the phone, it's not good. Can everyone see it fine like this though? Is this chilling? Is this chillin'? Tower, the Tower of Babel was actually the thing that made me stop well, not believing in God. That's a little harsh, but definitely made me stop being Catholic, because I had studied. I went to college and studied the Tanakh, which is the original Old Testament, as you guys know, and I read the story of the Tower of Babel in its not purest form, because the Tower of Babel is actually in the Sumerian text as well, so it's not even the original story, but the Tanakh has the unadulterated version as compared to the one I'm used to seeing. And actually, let me just start with my thesis first, so you guys know what the hell is going on before I talk your ears off. My hypothesis is that God created racism in the story of the Tower of Babel by separating humanity all over the earth and confounding our language. So that's that. That's where this is all coming from. Now I'll go backwards and tell you what actually happened in the story of Babel if you're unsure. So your version might be much different to this, if you have to, especially if you read the King James version, which is the one that's most often talked about. It's my sister. So what I was raised believing with the Tower of Babel is humanity wanted to build a tower to the sky, be like the gods. Because we were full of pride, God came down, was like, pride's one of the 7 deadly sins, and punished us for our pride. That was the Sunday school version that I was taught. However, what actually happened, with my own interpretation, not the priest's interpretation or the church's interpretation, what happened was the gods, it wasn't even God's singular, it was God's plural. The gods were wherever the hell they were. And one of the gods looked over to the other gods and he said, yo, it's been a hot minute since we've checked out the humans. Let's go down there and see what they're up to. Which is the first red flag. God's supposed to be omniscient, which means all-seeing, all-knowing. He doesn't have to go down to see what we're doing. Who the hell is he talking to? Like, are there other God homies up there that he's trying to figure out what's going on? So that was the first red flag. I thought, why the fuck does God have to come down here to see what we're doing? So he gets down here with the homies, and he turns to them and he goes, damn, in reference to Babylon, the Tower of Babel. He goes, damn, look at what the humans can accomplish when they have one tongue and they are one nation. They can be like the gods, like us. And he said we can't have that. So he destroyed the tower and spread humanity over planet Earth and confounded our language so that we can't understand one another. Because when we are one tongue, as in one language and one race, we can accomplish anything. And they were afraid of that. They, not he. Yeah, and exactly, Queen Era. It uses Elohim is the plural for gods, and that's what is referred to most of the time in the Tanakh, the Jewish Bible, is Elohim. So that one story right there just had contradictions after contradictions from everything that I'd been taught and raised, and it was the first time I was able to read something from the text that's substantial and it not have the editor's note. I feel like everything that we're taught is, here's a story in the Bible, and then here's the editor's note, which is what God meant. But I call bullshit. This is the whole thing about making our own decisions and not being sheep and not believing in dogma. Dogma is just believing everything at face value. You just regurgitated knowledge, it becomes dogma. You don't actually look it up, you just believe in it. Peace out. I'm not sure who. Tiffany, thanks for stopping by for the second that you were here. Heather, hello. You did make it in time. So yes. By the way, feel free to chime in if you have any questions. I did this live because I wanted to be able to interact. a little bit. So if you guys have questions or just want to state something, by all means. Nikki. Oh, God. I wouldn't go far as to say the whole Bible is bullshit, Nikki. And I'll answer. I'll go on with that in a second. Grandma talks about how we should just believe in God and not question Him when He gives us a brain to question things. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were saying peace, like peace out, but peace, regular peace. Exo Goddess, what it do? Exo Goddess, also known as Ashley, shouted out the candles. She got hers today. I think she got hers. And they came out so cool. I'm so glad you like those, by the way, Ashley, because I ran out of wrapping paper, so I had to use that Trader Joe's or Whole Foods bag that I wrap the candles in. I normally have wrapping paper, and I was like, "Fuck, I gotta get to the post office," and I didn't have time to get more wrapping paper. So, I hope that was fine. um, all right, Nikki, I'll get to that. No, what you're saying is true, but it's also not. I know grandma was the only thing that stood out. My bad. um, I was like trying to read your name, like, what would my grandma do? I couldn't call you what or would or my or do, and I can't call you the whole thing because it's a longest name, so I just went with grandma. Um, okay, Nikki, this is one of the things that I is like a trigger for me when people say that the Bible is bullshit. So it's not like I'm coming at you. It's just this is something where I feel passionately about. I don't think the Bible is bullshit. Uh, if you read the Bible and take it at face value and don't listen to what the church tells you that the Bible means, then I think it's incredibly useful. If you just read it as a historical document or a text, or I mean, it's not historic because there's a lot of shit that contradicts itself. Um, but I think it's better used to line up history. For example, the Tower of Babel that I'm talking about right now is a story straight out of the Sumerian text, their creation story. The Tower of Babel says the same thing. There was people that came together, they had one language. They were a magnificent race. The gods came back because they'd been gone for a while, saw how powerful they were when they had one race and one tongue, and destroyed them and made it so that they couldn't understand each other. Hence the phrase, "What are you babbling about? I can't understand you," because the Tower of Babel was representative of that. So I don't think the Bible is shit at all. I think what they say to believe about the Bible, like you have to worship the God of the Bible, like that part is like, all right, well, the God of that Bible murdered fucking. There's a website, if you guys want to Google it right now and tell me my computer's here, but there's a website that adds up the kill count of God versus Satan in the Bible, and it's something like a few million to zero, God versus Satan. And so, I mean, you know, um, did I get sidetracked? I got sidetracked. But yeah. So back to what you were saying, Nikki. I don't think the Bible is shit. I really like the Bible because, especially when it starts to correspond to other texts, like it corresponds to Egyptian texts. There's Egyptian gods that match up with Jesus, with the 12 disciples, and the turning water into wine, and the mystery schools. And Sumerian text has the flood of Noah to a T. Only in the Sumerian text, the the length of time that elapsed was only 7 days compared to 40 days. Something about Judaism, they really like 40 in that religion. So, of course, some things are changed here and there, but the stories themselves, when you read them objectively and don't buy into, is the Bible good? Is the Bible bad? Is it trying to manipulate me? Is it, if you drop all that baggage and just read it face value and then kind of compare and contrast with other religions, you can learn a lot. You can learn a fucking hell of a lot. Um, But the title of this video, where I said God created racism and then tied it in with the Illuminati and New World Order, um, something stolen cannot correspond. Well, it can correspond. How does it not correspond? Because the Sumerians have the story of Babylon, and then the Jews have the story of Babylon, Tower of Babel as well, and they're the same story. So I feel like that means that they correspond. I'm not sure what you mean by they don't or correspond. Um, but yeah, um, damn, I'm getting sidetracked. Well, I know I'm not saying it's not stolen. I'm saying it's the when I say correspond, all I'm saying is it's the same story. Like it corresponding means it corresponds to this. They have like properties, like the law of correspondence, as above, so below type shit. Like it was obviously stolen, right? Because the Sumerians write about the same stories 1,500 years prior to Judaism. Like, of course it's stolen. I'm not saying it's not stolen. I'm just saying that they're the same fucking stories. Um, so to say that Judaism and Christianity, the Bibles are to say that those are shit, is almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Not dangerous, but like negligible, um, because there's information that's useful in there. Because the stories correspond, there's useful information, is what I'm getting at. So again, yeah, there's a lot of fucked up shit that goes on in the Christian world, stealing and stuff, but that doesn't mean that there's not truth in the texts. What I like to do a lot is go back to the original. I try to find the original source of information. Like, debatably, the original source of information is ancient Sumeria in the Middle East, which is in between Tigris and Euphrates. You know what they talk about? So when I see the original text and then I see those same stories in Christianity and Judaism, by the way, it's not even the Jewish religion that has that story of the flood. There's like 500 different cultures around the planet that acknowledge that there was a flood that wiped out humanity, that there was this race that came from the sky, and they created humans, and they had white skin and red hair, and there's same pictures and same monoliths that have the same stories all over the world. I wouldn't even, maybe it's not even stolen. It could just be that there was something fucking huge and everyone wrote about it. And it turned out to be like the telephone game where you say cats have blue eyes at one end, and by the time it gets to the other end, it's fucking I like pizza, you know? So it could just be, you know, just something not lasting the test of time. I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't say how much treachery there was when these stories were getting passed along. But what I can say is that there's a lot of correspondence between a lot of different societies. And because there's so much corresponding in so many different societies, it lends a certain amount of truth, or at least a certain amount of like, I should take consideration of what the fuck's being said with this, because everyone else is saying the same thing. Start doing some digging, start matching shit up. And recently, what I've been getting is this. You know, everyone talks about Illuminati, New World Order, and they're like, oh, they want the world to have one language and it be one race and this, and that, and we can't do that. We have to stop that. We can't be one race. We can't have one language, etc. It's just the man, it's Big Brother, and it's all this like really heavy, deep misinformation. When it's on surface, it sounds great. Like, yeah, I don't want to have one language, I don't want to have one race. You know, I want my own identity. I want my own culture to be my culture and no one else's. You have your culture over here. This is my culture. This is my people. Those are your people. It's very separating, you know, and there's a lot of, I mean, that's where racism comes from. That's where hate comes from. That's where fear comes from. Where fear comes from, so I can tie this together, is not being able to understand one another. We don't understand other cultures. We don't understand other races. And what's the main way to understand someone else? Communicating with them, speaking with them. If we can't communicate with people, if we can't speak, if we can't understand one another, then we guess about people, and that's where fear comes from. That's where assumptions come from. That's where racism comes from. And that's why I was thinking, now I could be wrong. This is a hypothesis. You can't prove hypotheses. It's just, you know, me basically giving a thought vomit. What if this whole thing about not, um, not having the new, or like the new world order being a bad thing, or one race and one language being a bad thing, what if that's a lie? What if that is misinformation from these space gods that want to keep us apart? Because, again, looking back in time, looking at um, ancient Sumeria, looking at Christianity and Judaism, uh, we see these stories, and we see that there was a time, in fact, where we were one language, and we did have one culture, and we were a single unit of humanity. And like the God said, we can accomplish anything when we work as one person, when we have one tongue. So that's where I'm coming from when I say, um, I'm like warming up my hands. It's actually really cold here. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I know I usually get heat from that, especially depending upon what group I talk to. You guys left comments. I'll read those comments in a second. But if I was trying to dominate planet Earth, right? If I was trying to dominate planet Earth, I would do whatever I could to make sure that the people didn't come together. Because if I have Asians fighting white people, Mexicans fighting Asians, whites fighting blacks, if I have all these different races saying I'm better than you are, but they're better than them, but those guys are less than them, but I am the best. If I'm constantly pitting you guys against each other, I'm going to dominate you. You're not going to come together. You're not going to be able to build. Instead of, imagine the energy we've spent into wars, right? Where if we would just understand one another, we would be colonizing the entire solar system right now. But no, instead we've spent $20 trillion on dropping bombs and printing propaganda and wasting energy on hating people because the color of their skin, or being, really, it's not hating people because of the colors of their skin, it's fearing other people because we don't understand them. Which is why I can't help but think this whole propaganda anti one world order, or new world order, or having one language, I can't help but think that's propaganda to keep the people separated. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go back and read some of your guys' comments because I saw that there was a few in here. Natural racism was inevitable with consciousness. Um, yeah, I mean, that's, racism is inevitable living in a three-dimensional realm, period. Like, I'll accept that, absolutely. Part of having the human experience and having a physical experience is running into a shit ton of obstacles. There's a lot of darkness out here, you guys. Because of this ego that we all have, we have this ability to live in a universe with infinite possibilities. And when you live somewhere with infinite possibilities, you're going to get lots of inevitable darkness that comes up. So racism is inevitable darkness. I agree with that. But I also think that it's perpetuated by ignorance and by people not understanding one another and people not having a common thing to latch onto so that we can come together. Heather, I'm reading your comment now. Heather says, I would personally say that all kinds of cultures were created and not racism itself. I believe that's all down to us as human beings. Humanity lacks the ability to connect past borders and boundaries. Yeah, I agree with that, all of that. Kinds of cultures were created and not racism itself. Well, when I say God created racism, I was playing devil's advocate. I don't mean. Actually, no, I literally meant that. Well, no. I don't think he. When I refer to the Tower of Babel, I'm not saying that those creator gods forced us to not like each other. What I'm saying is he forced us, or she forced us, not to understand one another, which eventually led to fear, disassociation, separation. They basically pitted us against each other by making us lack understanding, which eventually turned into racism, which turned into my culture is better than yours, which turned into all the negative things we see when it comes to you versus me. Queen era, basic math, power numbers. Exactly. Like that's what I'm getting at. Queen era. That's what I'm trying to say. I believe humanity is stronger when we're together and when we understand one another. And so when I saw the Tower of Babel and I saw that they did everything that they could to make sure that that didn't happen, not only did they scatter the people all over the world, it says they scattered us all over the world so we were no longer together and confounded our speech so that we couldn't understand one another. They did everything they could to separate us. And then now we justify that separation by saying my race is better than yours, my color is better than yours. um, I don't know. It seems anti-progressive. It seems like, I don't know. I'm gonna continue with these things. We will sooner destroy ourselves, each other, before any other being. Okay. See, natural. I'm reading yours now. We will sooner destroy ourselves slash each other before any other being will. Um, yeah. I mean, yeah. That I would agree to that. But when you guys, so for example, that one, see natural. I'm putting this video in the context of the Tower of Babel, of that original thing. So when you guys are commenting, just keep that in mind, that um, I'm not saying that people aren't killing ourselves. Like, of course, human beings are being dickheads to other human beings. But in the context of this video, what I'm saying is that the origin could have started from this Tower of Babel, these gods that were in the sky that um, found out how strong we would be when we worked together, and then instigate trying to bring everything back together is what I'm trying to do now. Nikki, don't agree at all. Fair. Modern racism has a birth date and a birthplace. The value predates both. Historical evidence for metaphysical. Fair. That's fair. What's the birth date of modern racism? And so what's the birth date and the birthplace of modern racism? Queen era. Yeah, of course. That exactly. That's it's so weird. It's like humanity's trying to reach the sky, which is, the pinnacle, and then they come down and spread us. I mean, there's a whole I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Sumerian texts and the creation story, how humans were genetically manipulated, and I could go into that. I'm not too detailed with that, but I could give you the rundown if you wanted to. Um, Nikki, whatever date the first slave ship deported from Kush. Um, well, if you're talking about slavery, I mean, the black people were one of the latest people to be enslaved. If you want to talk dates and the beginning of racism, and then tie in and then say racism is slavery, then you would have to say the first racism were the Jews, because the Jews were made slaves. 4,000 years before the Africans were made slaves. Africans being slaves was actually a really recent thing. There were slaves throughout the Roman Empire. Slaves outnumbered the Romans 3-1 in the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire had some 15, 20 million. They had tens of millions of people, which means they had 3 times as many slaves, and those slaves were not all black. Well, some of them were black because they would conquer Egypt, for example, but a lot of them were Germans, a lot of them were Spaniards. The entire Eastern Mediterranean was enslaved. So, I mean, if you're talking slavery, it's not, black people weren't the only people that were enslaved, is what I'm getting at. Rome in general. Yeah, well, to be fair though, Rome conquered fucking everything. Like, it wasn't just Africa that Rome enslaved. But it all could be stemmed back from this one thing. That's what I'm saying. We wouldn't have to be conquering each other if people wouldn't have been spread around from the Tower of Babel. That's like, of course, the Tower of Babel is not proven to have existed. Um, I'm not saying that at all. I feel like you think I'm somehow diminishing what black people went through in slavery. Um, and I'm not at all. Like, black people went through a lot of bad shit, and still go through a lot of bad shit. I don't mean to, forget about that. What I'm doing with this video is I'm talking about the source of racism, the source of the madness, the source of the this race is better than that race, and it's bigger than white versus black. But the conversation is always black versus white. It's not even fucking Asian or Mexican sometimes, but the majority of these conversations is black versus white. And I'm trying to get out of that fucking mentality because, like I keep saying, to, to divide and conquer is not a new concept. Every country has done this in the history of the planet, and even these ancient texts are saying that's exactly what the gods did to humanity. They divided us, and then they conquered us. So I'm not trying to belittle slavery with black people. I'm just saying that there is a source from humans treating each other like shit, which comes from fear, which comes from a lack of understanding. And if the oldest text we have to go off of say that humanity was one race at one time divided by the gods, then that is the source, right? I'm not saying white people didn't do fucked up things to black people. I'm not saying that there weren't slave ships. All that shit happened. I'm saying that there is a source that this is all coming from. Owen Yakchi, yeah, I do love how diverse we are and learning different languages. They sound so lovely. They can't do Tower of Babel now because people all over the world connect via internet. Um, yeah, the internet's a fucking powerful thing. I do. I like how diverse we are too. I'm not saying, um, yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I love different languages too. Diversity is why things are beautiful. Uniqueness is why things are so beautiful. Um, but to be so diverse to the point where we latch on to that diversity and we latch on is a very egotistical thing, like that I can grow dreadlocks naturally without having to do them, for example. Does that make me better than white people? Does that mean, um, I'm gonna say black people are better than white people? I could, but then what does that do to white people? Then white people are like, then again it becomes me versus you. So it's, while I do like diversity, and I will always praise diversity, and there's a reason why I have 10 different plants growing in my garden and not just one, because diversity is beautiful. It's helpful to ecologies, actually, to have diversity. Um, there's a certain point where that churns into I'm better than someone else. And while people in this room obviously aren't going to do that, because I feel people who follow my channel and you guys are commenting right now know better, and we appreciate differences because we have a certain level of understanding. We understand the beauty of different colored people. We understand the beauty of different hair types. We understand the beauty of different kinds of languages. We have knowledge. We have wisdom. We improve our lives with the diversity that we come across. We add to it and we take from it. So diversity is a beautiful thing, but for the common person who's not on our level, if I may be so egotistical to say, they won't see that. They'll see differences and think a bad thing. They'll see a country where they don't understand their language and they'll assume that these people are talking bad about them, or will be like, oh my God, I can't understand what they're saying. Maybe they're talking bad about me. Because they just don't know any better, The average person just doesn't know any better. They operate from fear and they're instigated towards fear very easily. So it's the job of people like you and I to let people know that they shouldn't be afraid of shit so often, that the world's not as dark as the media might have us believe, that there's a lot more love in the world, that the movies would rather have us believe, that it's, yeah, I feel like I'm rambling. And you guys had a bunch of comments, so I'll read those comments right now. Um, They can't do Tower of Babel now. Nikki, I'm sorry for offending you. Um, Blacks are still trapped too. I don't think that is the reason we were spread all over. I think there's a less meaningful reason. Yeah, blacks. Or I mean, I don't know what you mean by blacks are still trapped. Um, like their minds are trapped, or society has trapped them. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean. Um, Heather, maybe the gods divided us as a way to test us. We have the ability to connect with each other no matter what race, creed. Yeah, that could be it. It could be a giant test. It could be a test. Um, yeah, the only reason I have to go off of why they did it was the Sumerian text, which says that we were starting to become as strong as they were, and they didn't want us to. So that's that's where I'm getting it from, is that the text verbatim says they didn't want us to be as strong. So as far as alternative motives, if it was a test, that would be even more a guess than the original guess. What am I saying about the source and that we should be one? Um, I'm not saying we should be anything. So this is the more comments you guys leave, the hardest to really keep up. I'm glad you guys are engaged, but um, I'm gonna do one at a time. So Grandma says, "Okay, what are you saying about the source then? That we should be one?" Um, no, I'm not saying that we should be one. I'm just saying that we were one, and that we were divided and conquered. Uh, that we were one. They saw how strong we were as being one, and then they divided and conquered us. And when I say one, for example, that doesn't mean that we all have to be white, that we all have to be black, that we have to be a mixed race of all these things. All I'm saying is that we had one language. Like that's what it said. That's what babble means. What are you babbling about is I can't understand the words that are like, don't understand the words that come out of my mouth. That's what it's referring to. So when I say one language, that's what I'm saying, that we used to be one language. I don't know if we were all black, if we were all white, if we were all Jewish, if we were all Sumerian. Like there could be races. All there could have been more races than there are now. I have no fucking clue. What I'm saying about source is that we had one language and we were powerful as fuck. We were as powerful as the gods, and the gods found that out, and they were afraid. So they destroyed all our creations, they spread us around the planet, and they made it so that we couldn't understand one another. And you successfully have divide and conquer. That's all I'm saying. Heather Lilly, I think connections are lost due to stigma and the fear of the unknown. As you said, we have limitless energy, and I believe we are the gods of experiencing life in human form. Fuck yeah, absolutely. I believe humanity is crazy powerful, but there's a lot of things happening that are trying to limit that power, and it has to do with the things that I've been saying in this whole video. But you get disconnected people in charge who get absorbed in status and money and try to box in everyone within society and restrict us from being free thinkers and keep us boxed in from, yes. Yeah, that's what you're saying, Heather, in that last longer comment you left was separation. Disconnected people, exactly. Disconnected is the same thing as separation, is the same thing as boxing in, is the same thing as having a narrow mind. Anti-free thinkers, yeah, absolutely. If we are all one, there will be no polarity, Grandma says. Yeah, we're always going to have polarity, but we can have better versions of polarity. So I talk about this in my book, where I say you can't escape polarity, right? You're always going to have the swing from one side to the other. You're always going to have hot and cold, and you're always going to have a swing between hot and cold. So let's say you live in a place that's 30 degrees, and it goes as cold as 30, and it goes as hot as 90. And you're saying, fuck, I don't like the 30. I don't like that swing. I'm going to move into a new place that's closer to home that I like, that has the same swing, right? Because we can't get rid of polarity. But the new low is 50, and the new high is 95. So you're going, all right, I still have polarity. I still have the swing of the rhythm, but I've gone to a new polarity. I've gone to a new pole, right? You can't escape the laws, but you can rise up within the laws. You can make your life a better place and still have the swing, still have polarity, which is what I'm getting at. We can still have diversity, like say if we were back to how it used to be, we had one language. We can still have different cultures. I mean, planet Earth is huge. If you have a civilization living in Sweden and a civilization living in Cuba, we can still speak the same language like we did 50,000 years ago, if this is true. But your environment, the fact that you don't get sun for a few weeks out of the year, period, in some parts of northern Sweden is going to create a whole different culture, different drinks, different foods, different dances, different music. That doesn't mean we can't still be one people that all love one another, that speak the same language, that understand each other, that aren't afraid of each other. But we're always going to have differences, of course. But are the differences going to contribute to a healthy society where we work together and, send a fucking rocket to Mars? Or are we going to create differences that create fear and scarcity and cause us to drop bombs on each other instead of trying to explore space? Queen Era. There's nothing wrong with diversity as long as we are able to understand each other. Absolutely beautiful. Heather, the media is full of lies. Yes. And Grandma says black minds are still trapped. Yes. I would go as far as to say all minds are still trapped. But since blacks are included in all minds, then yes, I would say black minds are trapped. And the only thing you trust is balance. Balance is the only thing that nature trusts too. So I'm fucking there with you to a T. As currently evidenced by the dynamics of the universe. Yeah, the universe will always aim for balance. Will always, 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 always aim for balance. And the more we try to stop that rhythm, the more we try to stop the balance, whenever things do get rebalanced, it's usually a fucking catastrophe. Like if there's an overpopulation of deer in a certain area, the deer will eat all the food. No food left, overpopulation of deer, you have an imbalance. And so what nature does is it just wipes out half of the deer population in a horrific slaughter of fucking hunger. And then nature's rebalanced, right? So nature's always balanced. And if there's ever an imbalance, and you notice an imbalance, like if you notice this in your life, if you ever notice an imbalance in your life and you don't correct that imbalance and you just kind of ignore it and just pretend it'll go away, whenever it comes back, it compensates. However long it was fucked up is how traumatic it's going to be when it finally comes back into place. The importance of exploring space. What? We're gonna explore space. I know that. I know where you're getting at, Grandma. We are here right now, but someone could easily explore space and say, I am also here right now. So we can't get. I'm an explorer by heart. I love adventuring. I love exploring. Not all people. We could have the entire solar system colonized, and we could get to any planet in a matter of seconds. And I'm sure there would still be millions, if not billions, of people on the planet that are perfectly okay with staying in the same neighborhood their whole lives, and that's fine too. I'm just saying, when we work together, we can do more cool things. Because I mean, humanity, according to science, started out in Africa, right? And they could have said, well, we can stay in Africa our whole lives because why explore further? But no, they moved, and now we colonized Europe and Asia and the Americas, and people live in Hawaii, and people live in Australia, and people can visit the pyramids of Egypt. I think it's not only humans, but life in general that has an urge to grow and expand. Life started in the oceans with single-celled bacteria. And then they grew into multiple cells, and then they grew into algae, and then they grew into fish and slime molds and jellyfish, and then they were vertebrates, and then once they were done colonizing the ocean, where'd they go? To the land. Now plants are on the land. Now animals are on land. What happens when they conquered land? Now you conquer the sky, and now we have birds and fucking pterodactyls and seagulls and fucking bats and shit. Like, life just expands, you guys. It's what it does. If it's not expanding, it's contracting. Um, and I feel like right now we're contracting and we're not expanding. So that's why I use that example a lot of I want to be fucking exploring space and discovering Pandora with the avatars running around, flying on winged beasts and shit, you know? But that's just me. If you're happy chilling at home, that's dope too. Yesterday was a beautiful day. I stayed at home all day and watched Netflix. Not very proud of it, but it happens. I know I keep calling her. I mean, I could call you something else. I just don't want to say what would my grandma do every time. I could call you whatever you like. I could call you grandma. Um, Unplugged reality. Yeah, that too. What happens in space at times can't. That's true. I didn't even think of that, but definitely what happens in space will for sure. I feel really bummed about offending Nikki because she was super cool and was always stoked on the videos, and I feel like that didn't go well. Anywho, the imbalance is humans. Who is here to keep us in check? Who is here to keep humans in check? Fucking hopefully us. There's no. Oh well, nature. Actually, I take that back. Veronica. That is a pretty name. All right, we'll do Veronica. My bad. Call you. Why? What would Grandma do? I'm just out of curiosity. Why? What does that name mean? Nah, Veronica's chill. I'll definitely remember Veronica now. After this whole thing, I'll definitely remember Veronica. But who keeps humans in check? I mean, nature keeps. People like to think that humans aren't a part of nature, but we were birthed by planet Earth, so we're nature. And nature will check us. Good example, Rome. Ooh, better example, Venice, Italy. I don't know when the Black Plague was. I think it was the 1600s. Someone fact check me on the Black Plague. There was far too many people living in a far too small spots. It was overcrowded. And disease swept through. So you had an imbalance of humans because there were so many people so close together in such dirty conditions. No one stayed clean. Everyone got the bubonic plague. Fucking 20 million people dead in a matter of a few years. It just wreaked havoc on all of Europe. It was overpopulated. It was disgusting. There was no space. And nature rebounded. So, or think about dams. Humans like to put dams on everything. But what happens when a dam gives out? You've blocked up so much water. When the dam gives out, it just massacres every living thing on the other side of that dam. So nature is constantly keeping us in check, and it's humans' job to find a balance with. As soon as humanity tips the scale of nature, nature just starts to go fucking bonkers, and whether by design or whether by conscious thought or whether this is just the mechanics of existence, period, nature starts to do things to bring itself back into check. And the more drastic it is out of balance, then the more drastic the check it does to get itself back to where it needs to be. So if that's a conscious thing that's happening, I don't know, but it fucking happens. Unplugged. People have to understand that with a dialogue like this, we have to have an open mind and not take opinions personally. Yeah, I know. That's why I wanted to put this video out a year ago, but there's actually, this isn't even the only controversial topic, to be honest with you guys. There's at least 2 or 3 other topics that I probably won't do for a long time because I'm afraid of what just happened, that I might be naive and say something that I don't mean, or like not explain myself how I mean to explain it. And then I just piss off a bunch of people and I'm like, fuck no, I'm just like trying to, but yeah, I try to be as open as I can, but sometimes it doesn't work. Racism is a social construct. Yes, it is. A man-made disease. Yes, brought on by a superiority complex. Yes, nature is about balance. Yeah, racism is just fucking crazy when you think about it. Oh man, it's just fucking great. That's funny. You want to do it? But here's on topic, but not on topic. Never mind. I'm not gonna bring it up. She natural. I'm reading your comment now. Yeah, but that's before technology. We got nature by the balls for the most part. A huge natural disaster might wipe out a small percentage, but on a large scale, it won't be simple natural. It could be She Natural. Can I call you guys She Natural? You're on my channel a lot. You can tell me your name and I'll remember it. So She Natural, do you have a name that I could call you by? Nuit Bastet. That's a damn good fucking point that I need to remember. And I thank you for saying that, actually. I needed to hear that. Bastet, I really did. Open panels. I'm not sure what an open panel is. I'm reading your comment, Veronica. Charisse and Veronica. Nice. My name is Keith. Charisse and Veronica. Nice to officially meet you guys. I think I've... Is there anything? We got... Oh, Charisse, you're got nature by the balls. There was a comedian that I listened to, and he talked about... he was commenting on the arrogance of humanity. Ooh. Oh, what's his name? He's actually famous, dude. When he cussed a lot, he was old, but he was fucking brilliant. Anywho, he was commenting on the arrogance of humanity, how arrogant we are and how proud we are. And what he said was, he says, humanity thinks we're killing the earth by burning the fossil fuels and making plastic. And he says, for all we know, the earth could be this consciousness, and the only reason it created humanity was so that it would have a slave to bring up all the oil. George Carlin, damn, Pops, you're... Oh shit, thanks, Dad. My dad's on here, and the guy's name is George Carlin. If you haven't heard him, you should. He's brilliant. But what he was saying was something along the lines of humanity... For all humanity knows, we could be a slave of planet Earth to mine all the oil and to make all the plastic so that it could have a plastic-eating monster or some shit like that. And the point he was trying to say is that existence is so big, and written history has only been around for 4,000 years, and the planet's been around for 2 billion, which is an ungodly amount of time. And to think that humanity could actually do something lasting to planet Earth is ignorant and is just silly, basically is what he's getting at. Because we don't know. We might think that we're, you know, harming the planet, and we are, but in the big spec of things, if the planet were like a human body, we would be a cold. If it came out to us being bad for the planet, we would literally be a cold. If that, we would probably be a cough. Because if you look at the time scale of planet Earth being 80 years, humanity would be something like 15 seconds. So if we were able to do something bad to the Earth for 15 seconds of its lifespan, we would be a sneezing fit. Like, you ever sneeze 3 or 4 times in a row? That's what humanity would be to planet Earth. So it's hard to say, you know, as the extent of what humanity does and what planet Earth can do to combat that. Candace, what up, Candace? Candace, you spelled my name the right way. That's my government. I use the Y because I try to be cool, but try not to use my government too much because then the government will be on to me. Gabriella, what up, from Romania? Nice. I almost went to Romania. Bucharest is in Romania, right? But it didn't pull through. Ama X from London. George is one of the realest. Yeah, London. Hey, London squad, you guys should do like a coffee thing and meet up and be homies. Um, Keith is a good name. Oh, Bucharest. Bucharest. Nice. Yeah, my buddy went for a seminar out there. I was going to go with him, but I was an idiot and didn't go with him for some lame excuse, but I should have been out there. Unplugged, though. I'm curious what open panels are. I can do... Oh, damn, his name was London. That's cool. Dracula. Dracula's dope. Damn, I'm good call on that, by the way, Pops, on the George Carlin. So my dad's in here, too, on the thing, and when I couldn't figure out the artist's name, I just see a little text message, and it said George Carlin from my Pops. Oh, shit, I almost come on my fire. But, I know, I've heard amazing things about Bucharest. Actually, I've heard some pretty amazing things about Bucharest. Yeah. Eastern Europe has a strange feel to it, but... And Vlad the Impaler, what up? If I go to Romania, the first thing I'm doing is seeing that castle. Whatever the creepiest, fucking biggest, coolest castle is, you will find me there. Nice. Well, I think I went over the whole topic. If you guys have any other things you want to just shoot the shit with or what. Yeah, he doesn't comment. He just straight up texted me, and he didn't even text anything else. All it said was George Carlin. But he's not commenting in here. He texted me, and it popped up on my phone. But yeah, you guys, how else are you guys doing out there? You guys doing well? Yo, seriously though, you don't know who's watching. Jesus could be watching, for all we know. That would be cool if Jesus was watching, though. He probably wouldn't be happy with my interpretation of the Old Testament. He'd be like, yo, Keith, dog, I didn't like what you said about the Tower of Babel and about my pops. But to be honest with you, while we're on the topic, I don't believe that the God of the Old Testament was the same God as the New Testament. When Jesus wasn't Jewish, he went a different route and was actually killed by the Jews, so I'm not sure why we still worship their Old Testament. And when you see what the God of the New Testament is all about unconditional love, whereas the God of the Old Testament, by the way, unconditional love, I know you guys hear it a lot, but literally means without condition. It means I will love you without condition. You can do whatever, you can say whatever, I will love you without condition. That's the God that Jesus speaks on. Whereas the God of the Old Testament literally churned everyone into a town into a pillar of salt. Some 10,000 people turned them into a pillar of salt because they were having butt sex with each other. The story Sodom and Gomorrah, that's what happened there, which is beyond me. And there's a lot of stuff on that too where people go, wow, sorry, I'm missing all the comments. So do you think Earth is a female and she's going to wipe us out? Veronica, right? Do I think Earth is a female? No, I don't think the Earth is a female. I don't think it's a female in the way that we see it. When you say male and female, I think strictly in penis and vagina, how does it reproduce, which is more accurate. But if we're speaking in terms of feminine and masculine, which aren't relevant to penis and vagina, not that relevant, I would say it's dominated by feminine, with some masculine, just like men are dominated by masculine with a little bit of feminine, and women tend to be dominated by feminine and have some masculine, like the yin and yang symbol. where one side is black with a white dot and the other side is white with a black dot. That's how I think the Earth is. It's a combination of the two. Um, but something feels like the Earth tends to be a little more feminine, and that kind of matches up with mythology and lore and storytelling. Planet Earth tends to be more feminine, whereas the sun tends to be the masculine source, which is where the balance is. And I don't know if it'll wipe us out. It depends. For all we know, this could be, if the Earth is a conscious entity. For all we know, this could be part of the plan. Like, who knows what the master plan is? I definitely don't presume to know what the master plan is, what she's gonna do. But what I can tell you is that if we're not going according to plan, then we will for sure get wiped out if we don't do it to ourselves first. What my take on those who claim the Earth is overpopulated? I don't believe anyone could really know this. That's a good question. To be honest, I would have to look that up off the top, because I studied this topic in college, and the consensus that I came across in college was the Earth, in fact, is not overpopulated. It's just that there's an uneven distribution of wealth, and so it seems to be overpopulated. But when you take into consideration all the usable land that's habitable, that is near resources, when you take into consideration those two factors, there's like 20 times over more than enough room for the amount of people that the world is holding right now. Not to mention, we waste something like 40% of the food that's produced, or 30% of the food that's produced in the world is gone to waste. So with all that taken into consideration, I would say we're not. But like I said, that's not my area of focus, so I wouldn't know that to a T, you know. Scorpio girl, the Old Testament is in fact Talmud Jewish. Yeah, it's Jewish as fuck. The Old Testament, the Tanakh, which is the Hebrew, or Torah, the Hebrew Bible, is the Old Testament of Christianity. Yeah, it's absolutely a different religion. How old was I when I started to seek knowledge? I mean, I've always been curious. I've always been fucking curious about things. I got that from my grandpa. I would ask him everything, and then I just remember my grandma would always say, "Ask your papa, ask your papa." So I've always been curious, but it wasn't until probably my early 20s when it really took off, and I really started diving down rabbit holes, and just a lot of the stuff that I study, I don't even study because it's fact. Most of the stuff I study is just because it's super interesting, whether or not it's fact. And then, of course, if it happens to be a fact, or if I can make some correlations with fact, then I'm super down. But, you know, I've just always been curious about shit. And that was like when I was 21, 22. And the first things where I started searching rabbit holes was conspiracy theories. And I did my master's thesis. Oh no, my master's proposal. I didn't get my master's, but I did my master's proposal on water fluoridation when I was in school in San Francisco. And of course, water fluoridation is a huge topic for conspiracy theorists. So by studying water fluoridation, it just took me down crazy rabbit holes. And that was the kicker. It was spirituality and lucid dreaming and astral projecting and fucking aliens and the hollow earth theory, and Atlantis. Just the coolest things, you know? Peace First Live. Oh, I am Anessa. You made it. Anessa Live 360, your first live. What it do? I've never read the Bible since it was written by a man. Charisse? Was that your name, Charisse? Because it was written by a man? Well, I mean, everything was written by man, so you gotta read something. Like, you can't, just because man is prone to fucking up, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, fair. But you gotta read something. Just because it's a man doesn't mean you can throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. True. I think Earth is female. Yeah, I believe it leans toward the feminine side. B-girl, I don't know either. I don't think it's just an excuse to kill and people are greedy with food. It's to kill and people are greedy. People are greedy with food, but they're also stupid with food. Like, I threw away food this morning. Thank God it was a vegan dish. I just made lentils and beets and carrots and potatoes. But I threw out like at least 3 solid spoonfuls, which is about 15%, like 10% of the food, right? So I just straight threw that shit out. Well, I fed it to the worms. I have a worm bin, and I feed my scraps to the worms, so I kind of recycled it, but tangent, my bad. I think the Earth is conscious, but only from a mechanical construct type of thought. Yeah, I'm kind of there with you, too. I believe that the Earth is conscious, but in a different kind of conscious. I believe everything is conscious, and the reason why I believe everything is conscious is because everything comes from something that is conscious. So, because of cause and effect, you can't have an effect that doesn't contain within it a piece of the cause, right? So you can't have a finished product that doesn't contain the pieces of the product itself. It would be ridiculous. Like I can't get a glass cup from a wooden cup. That wouldn't make any sense, you know, like what the fuck. So with that being said, I think everything has consciousness in it because everything comes from the original source, whatever that is. I call it God, the all, oneness, whatever that unnameable conscious thing is. We all come from it. Peace out, Nui. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so I think everything has a consciousness, but to different degrees. Like, obviously, plant consciousness isn't the same as human consciousness, isn't the same as planet Earth's consciousness or the sun's consciousness, but everything has a consciousness in it. Try it later, guys. Let's see. I'm reading. Grandma's name is Veronica. Do you feel like you found the source to your questions about religion or God? Yes and no. I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, I used to think, I used to say that I'm searching for truth and I'm searching for what it all means, and I kind of am, but realistically, all I'm doing is reading shit that I find super interesting, and then I get stoked on it, and I want to share it with other people, especially if I find that it's relevant and will help other people. So I'm not necessarily looking for anything in particular, I'm just looking for whatever the fuck is out there. And when it comes out to... your question was, do I feel like I found the source to my questions? I feel like I found source, but when I found source, I realized that source is undefinable, because source is infinite. And to give something infinite a name is to compartmentalize it, and is to say it is this thing, and if something is this thing, it can't be everything else. So it would be a paradox to name that thing. So I don't think we can understand it. So when I say no, or when I say yes and no, I mean, I found that truth is infinite and undescribable. And so what I've done is I've just learned to play in all the wonderful things that emanate from source. All this, like all the magic and philosophical and plants and animals and people and solar systems and stars and cities and culture and fucking psychology and math, all the things that extend from it. We play in all that shit. And I think that's all we're here to do. We can't understand the infinite mind with a finite mind, you know? It wouldn't make any sense. It's like Hamlet trying to understand Shakespeare. Could you imagine you're reading Hamlet and Hamlet just goes, I am God, or I am Shakespeare, and you're like, what the fuck? How did that just happen? Like, he was just a character and a story. Like, you can't comprehend the writer. Or maybe you can when you die and you get reabsorbed back into heaven or infiniteness or wherever we all came from. I would say it keeps me up at night, but it doesn't because I sleep like a babe's pretty much every night. I'm reading more of you guys' comments. Everything is made of energy and vibrations, and the universe is a mix of both female and male energies. Heather, yes to a T. That's a very balanced and useful way of looking at things. Nancy Tate, what up, fam, Dizzle? There have been tons of wiped out, lost, and forgotten civilizations. I believe that wholeheartedly. And not only do I believe it, there's a shit ton of hard evidence that there were a number of truly advanced civilizations throughout time. If you don't, with the evidence presented, if you don't think that there were advanced civilizations, you're just deluding yourself. It's crazy to not believe that now with all the evidence that's out there. Big girl, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Scorpion girls. Source is one with millions of parts in it. Us, we are one. Yeah. I'm not saying God doesn't exist. But I'll remind myself not to overanalyze because overanalyzing is one of my weaknesses, but also one of my strengths. So I take it all with a grain of salt. Don't let the devil whisper in your ears. I'm about to write a song about that. I have written a song about that. It's called Ain't Got No Time. It's not about the devil whispering in your ear, but it's definitely something along those lines. You should go check it out. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called Ain't Got No Time. Do I believe in reincarnation? Absolutely. If by reincarnation, like I definitely don't believe I'm dead and then there's nothingness forever. Like absolutely, I do not believe that there's nothingness forever after death. There's for sure reincarnation. For sure. There. If you don't believe in reincarnation, I would say it would be pointless to search for any meaning in life, period, if you think that when you die, it's just nothingness for all eternity. That's pretty much my stance on reincarnation. Yeah, source can't be all female or male. The whole thing with male and female is that only exists outside of source. That's what gives us perception. That's what gives us different kinds of experiences. All these tools, like when you say polarity, when you say feminine, masculine, when you say vibration and cause and effect, these laws only exist outside of oneness. When you get back into oneness, it's just infiniteness. It's indescribable, pure source, unfathomable source. Ooh, Veronica, I saw those messages and then you took them back. Purple Rain. Do I believe in karma? If so, why not? Yeah, karma's a tricky one. Karma's a tricky one. I believe more so in the law of cause and effect than karma. Karma seems to have a lot of loopholes in it. Karma seems to have a lot of loopholes in it. For example, or at least what the sages say. I'm not well versed in karma, by the way. But what the sages say, from what I have studied, is there's karma, good and bad, but there's also karma related to, do you think what you're doing is good or bad? And they will use this as the reason why bad people get ahead in life is because they don't see what they're doing as bad. They just think to themselves, it's a dog-eat-dog world. I got to do what I got to do to get to the top. So people see them being really successful even though they're dickheads, and they say, why is that? Shouldn't karma be making them poor and ruining their lives? And what the sages have said is, well, they don't believe they're doing bad. They'll affect the world. Like that's why I believe in cause and effect. because what they're doing is going to affect the world. If you're a dickhead, that's going to ripple into the world. It's going to affect the people around you. It's going to affect your decisions, which affect generations to come. But karma has a loophole. I do believe in cause and effect, though. Everything you do is going to be tied to everything else. You pull one piece of the spider web and it will pull the entire web. Every thread will be moved. And that's what I believe in. All right, I think I did answer your question, Veronica. Right, Veronica. Yeah, I think I did answer your question. Um, the the thing with karma, if you'd ask, so this would be my opinion. That's not based in much reality at all. This would just be my opinion on karma and believing you're doing something good or bad. Is that our emotions are kind of like our fuel. Our emotions are our fuel. And as long as we can end our focus, so as long as we can continue our focus and our intention on something that we want, we're going to manifest it, whether or not we're good people, good or bad people. Like Hitler, for example, he had terrible. I would hope he's got terrible karma, but what he was thinking wasn't good or bad. All he had was a goal, and he was so good at maintaining that focus and maintaining that drive that he was able to accomplish his goal despite the horror that he caused in doing it. So that's what I mean. Karma's kind of weird. Karma's a weird one. I try my best, and might be my overly analytical side, like you brought up, to not talk about things in terms of good and bad. At first, of course, like there are people doing fucked up things, and we have to stop them. But what I find is that good and bad, a lot of the times isn't useful for like making me a better person or trying to get my point across, or understanding things. When I label something as bad, then it's like, why is it bad? So there's a whole bunch of baggage that comes with bad, and it's almost like me thinking something is bad kind of fills my mind with judgment and prejudice and closed-mindedness, and so where I've already made up my mind on the situation, and it becomes very cloudy in my head. So if I see it as neutral, I can kind of see it mechanically and pick it apart and say, okay, yeah, I didn't like this, but what can I learn from it? How can I use this to make me a better person? If that makes any sense at all. I just said, Candace, it's cool. I mean, I didn't start till deep until I was mid-20s probably, and there's kids with YouTube channels that are preaching like Gandhi at the age of 18, so like, fuck it. Like, I guess sometimes we're on the late train for shit. Yeah, thoughts and emotions create frequency, good or bad. Yeah, I actually wanted to do a video on. I had the notes on my computer. I might not be able to think it off the top of my head, where it was talking about frequencies and how people say low frequencies are, like, they say anger is a low frequency, or bad or something like that. But you guys got to remember that energy is not like, I don't have my notes, so I might be a little washed on this. But anger isn't a low frequency. It's not a low vibrational state, anger. It's actually pretty powerful. It's when we can't focus the energy is when it becomes devastating. So every type of energy is useful when you can manipulate it. And the less baggage you have with an association for a certain type of energy, the better you can manipulate it. So if you're prone to anger, um, if you're prone to anger, I would say instead of thinking you're a bad person, you have anger issues, I would say, well, maybe anger is your most comfortable source of energy. And so, okay, you can be an angry person and channel your anger to where you're not a dickhead. You can use your anger to transform the world. Like Martin Luther King was a fucking not an angry person, but some of his speeches where he talked about the atrocities of the world were fueled by anger. He saw dark things happening, and his anger pushed him to make a change. So don't think of emotions in certain states as being good or bad, as being powerful or weak. More in terms of how am I using them. My wondering my age group or my age. I'm 30. I don't know if 30 is an age group, but it's definitely an age. Also, my phone only has 9% battery left. So I might be out up here pretty soon. So how do you manipulate the world into serving you in a better way? How can I know what I was in the other life? Maybe you were Vlad Dracula? Damn, talk about karma. If you were Vlad the Impaler, fuck. Um, damn. That's quite the karma. I don't know. I'm not a past life specialist. I'm not a past life specialist. It would be cool though. Um, I have no idea. I would say look at your interests because I've always had an affinity for the ocean. I've lived in like San Fran, Long Beach, Oxford, Ventura, Santa Barbara, Summerlin. I lived in 6 different places, and they've all been up against the ocean. I just always just stare at. I've just traveling ocean boats. I've always loved old boats, and then I went to do a past life reading, and a lady told me that I used to be a merchant sailor that sold spices around the world, and that was my thing. She's like, you had no family, you were just content with being a spice trader, and all you did was travel the world and try out different foods that you were passionate about, and you would share spices between cultures. It just made me super happy, and I was like, damn, that makes sense. So maybe if you're trying to figure out past life, what the hell are you interested in now, or what are you really good at right now? That's another indicator for past life stuff, is what you're really good at. God, there are some phenomenal past life stories on Google if you guys haven't seen them. Type in past life World War II vet, and this kid named his location. He named the people that were in his squadron. He named his boat. He named where he got shot down at, and his parents thought he was crazy. He thought he was excited about his jet airplanes. And so they were like thinking, okay, well, let's just fucking check it out, because the kid started having bad things happening to him. He was like, social anxieties and stuff. So they looked it up. His best friend that he flew with was a real person. The plane that he described getting shot down, the location that he got shot down, he said that he was the only jet fighter to get shot down from his whole squadron, and this whole story was confirmed. They went to Japan, they verified it, and they took the kid out. He was like 9. They took him out on a Japanese carrier to the spot and held a memorial service for him. And ever since then, his like night terrors went away and his social anxieties went away. It's the craziest story. So do I believe in reincarnation? Again, with all the facts out there and the hard evidence, can you imagine the odds for this kid to name the name of his plane, the crew, the location of being shot down? It's pretty fucking amazing. So I'm not sure how I got onto that, but yeah. Oh, Ashira, what up? How's it going, Ashira? Nice to see you. You missed all the juicy stuff, but now we're just shooting it right now. Everyone say what up to Ashira, who I owe probably 45% of my audience to at this point. I had to hang up on the homie right now if I lost you guys. I'm trying to look back. There was a question. How do you manipulate the world into serving you in a better way? Uh, Damn, that's a fucking $1 million question. Ooh, just got a business deal that went through. Um, how do you manipulate the world into serving in a better way? Shit. Should I just start a whole new live for that question? Let me see if there's an easier question, because that's a heavy ass question. Oh, that's cool. How do you manipulate life to serve you in a better way? Fuck, there's so many things. Me personally, okay, actually, this is a simple question. Try not to manipulate life, and this is a simple question. Try not to manipulate life, and try to manipulate yourself. Step one, find out why it is you believe the things that you believe, because your belief is your software, and your software is constantly broadcasting frequencies which dictate the world. So instead of trying to change the world, change yourself. I'm sure you know that. Everyone fucking talks about that. But practical ways of doing that, again, first step, find out what your beliefs are, find out why you believe them, find out if they serve you or not, because your beliefs matter, right? Your beliefs matter a lot. Even if they're the wrong beliefs, they still matter a lot. So take stock of what you believe. Two, take responsibility of those thoughts. There was a time when your beliefs were projected onto you without your knowing. So yes, you were programmed without your consent, but that time is gone now. So take responsibility for your thoughts as they are now, so that you can also take responsibility of your new thoughts. Taking responsibility for your thoughts puts the power back in your hands. So step one, figure out your belief systems. Step two, take responsibility for those. Step three, find the new ones. Find the new signal that you want to broadcast out into the world. What's your favorite version of reality? What belief systems does it take to get there? And start with these ones, not with the world, but like, how do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your projects? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? The things that make you happy, are they really making you happy? Or is it a way to cover up or to hide things or to mask things or to avoid things? It's not as easy as saying follow your bliss and your excitement, because it would be exciting for me to go downtown and drink tonight and go see a show and dance and stay up till 3 in the morning, but it'll fuck up my whole day tomorrow and I'll lose money that I didn't need to lose. So is the most exciting the most useful? I don't know. Again, you'd have to determine what it is that you want and your current thought beliefs. So long story short, if you want to manipulate the world, don't manipulate the world. Just manipulate yourself and pray to God that the world follows suit. And it will. It will. You'll find that as you shift, we got to hold that shift. You can't just go vegan for a fucking. You can't just do the 7-day vegan challenge, Ralph Smart's fucking vegan challenge. It's got to be like a ingrained into your subconscious mind. It's no easy feat. It's not. It's not just reading a book. It's not just going to a seminar. It's not just posting notes around your room. It's serious work to reprogram your subconscious mind. It's not about your thoughts. Your thoughts come and go. They're very elusive. They're very superficial. It's about reprogramming the subconscious mind, which takes a long time. But the good news is, it also lasts a long time. It's a good thing about the subconscious. While it's really difficult to change, it's really difficult to change. So change it in the good way, and it'll stay that way for a while as long as you're on top of it. Again, 7% battery, by the way. I'll just rock it till we run out of battery like we did last time. Bible makes it seem like we go to heaven and hell. We live in an infinite universe. You people really think you have one chance at life. Well, I wouldn't say you people. I feel like people in here are cool people. We don't want you people here. But, yeah. There could be a heaven and hell. I mean, there could be like a resting place. Like, hey, you can rest in heaven for a while until you're ready to go back. Or, hey, you're a dickhead. You got to rest outside because you're a dickhead until you go back. But yeah, switch off all your devices except when you're on YouTube Live. All switched off when it turns out. See Natural, your name was Charisse? being in space, looking back on Earth. Maybe you're an astronaut, or maybe you're secretly an alien that's trying to control all of humanity, and you're the one that separated us in the first place. Thanks, Charisse. Appreciate it. How to manipulate the world into serving your person. I believe it's all about intentions. Yeah, it's about intentions, of course, absolutely. Intentions. You gotta set all the intentions. I said that. Alma, but I wasn't sure if it was just me trying to justify my unwillingness to go vegan or not. Vegan, whether we should be vegan or not is a whole nother topic. 1 second though. All right, my bad. What a do? No, it says you'll be in heaven or hell infinitely. Oh yeah. It definitely says infinitely you'll be in heaven or hell. Yeah, doesn't that seem strange that a mere 60, 70 years on Earth, 30 years in some cases, 20, 10 to 1 year in some cases will determine your resting place for all of eternity. Especially babies, like babies that aren't baptized in the eyes of the Catholic Church go to purgatory. No, they go to limbo. Babies go to limbo. Purgatory is for those who aren't going to hell but not good enough to go to heaven, so they literally get burned in purgatory until they've been cleansed of their sins, and then they get to go to heaven. But limbo, like, could you imagine being in limbo for eternity because you didn't get baptized as a baby? That just fucking blows me away. So strange, like, so strange. It's completely illogical. It's and I know I'm too logical sometimes, too logical to a fault, but like, come on, give me a break. Yeah, give me a break. No, I don't think it's true either, and I don't think even people who are Catholic nowadays don't think that's true. But what I'm saying is that at one point in time, the church was saying, "Hey, get your babies baptized, pay money, go do it. Otherwise, your babies are going to be in limbo if they die." Because babies used to die a lot back in the day. By the way, that's why they were so adamant about getting children in to be baptized, was because children died a lot back in the day. The success rate for birth was not very good, so they would get them baptized as soon as they could in case they died. They wanted to make sure they went into heaven. Yeah, of course, that's absolutely. Purgatory was invented in the medieval times, and what they said was, you'll go to purgatory for your sins, but one way to combat that isn't be a better person, but you could give the church more money. So if you paid the church more money, you would have less time in purgatory. So it was not only a scare tactic, but just a way to get money out of people, which is unfortunate. Super unfortunate because, well, for a lot of reasons. But, wow. Oh, damn, you guys are at 2%. Phone's about to die. And this completely covers my YouTube video for the day. I was going to shoot and edit, which takes forever, but I'm on live, so I don't have to edit anything. It's just up already. Sweet. Should I promote some shit before I go? I have dream tinctures before. The dream spagyric for lucid dreaming is available, you guys. All my candles are ready to go. Actually, these ones are all sold, so you can't have any of those. But if you guys want more, those are aromatherapy candles, cedar and lavender, fire, beeswax, 100%. Damn, 1%. About to log out. Yeah, everything is on my hermetics. Pretty much everything I'm saying to you guys is coming from the hermetic philosophy. So I'm glad you love it. I'm super stoked. My book is broken down on my channel if you haven't seen it yet. The Hermetic Principles in 8 videos. So go check that out. It's a playlist on my channel. You can find it. Fuck yeah, editing takes forever to do. God, it takes so long. I know it's fun while I'm doing it, but I dread it up until actually doing it. Oh, Ashley, see, Ashley knows what's up. She got hers. I wish I could show you guys what it looked like when I was done. Ashley, you want to see my little... So, this is my little box. I have all my different color waxes, my little seal, and my stamp. My calligraphy pen that's like brass. It costed $170, I think. Hella nice. We spared no expense in the fields on this end of the operation, you guys, just to let you know. Spare no feels in the operation. No edits is the way forward. Fuck, should I do that? I think I might just no edits all of these videos. But they don't look as cool. Like, I like it when the whole shot is in here with the Anubis candles, and like I have my little get up and the quality's all nice, and I have the cool Egyptian music in the background. But yeah, I can do them both. I could do like freestyle Fridays. Every Friday we can just come in here and hang out and chat about a bunch of different shit. Yeah, exactly. Like edits once a week or something like that. Cool. Well, no idea how my phone has been holding out at 1%. But we're doing it. We just have the power of Jah on our side right now. Man, that one smells good. Thank you to Switch off your devices. I'm gonna have to come up with a single name for you. I'm just gonna call you Switch. Thanks, Switch. Appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Yeah, make sure you guys show each other love too, because you guys are all fam. Thanks, Heather, for ordering the book. I hope you like it. I hope you like it. I think you will. It's my first, so, you know, go easy on me. But it's good. I think it's fucking awesome, actually. Cool. Peace out, all you gangsters. See you next time.